There is, Stugotz, a lot of energy around here and a lot to talk about because it felt like the playoffs started last night, just if you were watching hockey, and how it is that Washington got in.
Oh, it was
and
great.
Then you're watching the play-in games, which are a genuine success, where you're watching, you can tune in one game, are the Warriors finished? Are the Warriors, as we know them, finished? And are they really going out with Klay Thompson going 0 for 10? 0 for 10, Klay Thompson, that's going to be his last game. That's how it sputters to an end. So you saw one of the old greats extinguished, and somehow LeBron is beating Zion at his best when LeBron is 6 for 20 and Anthony Davis is 6 for 16. You've got to win that game at home. Road playoff games. If you're New Orleans, you have to win that game at home.
You do.
If you're the Lakers, you can't believe that you won a road playoff game, the equivalent of a road playoff game, with the oldest player in the league, Anthony Davis and LeBron James. They played good games, but they were not efficient games. You have to beat them when you're at home. They just got a bunch of free throws.
That was a fun game to watch last night. LeBron is incredible. He really is. At 39 years of age, to give you 23, 9, 9, 3 steals, 2 blocks, incredible. But it was unfortunate because I wanted to see that game play out with Zion being healthy. That was the best game Zion has had as a pro, 40 points at home in a must-win game, and he got hurt late in the game, and I have no idea what happened to Zion Williamson. It was strange.
Okay, but this is where I wanted to start today because the Warriors are finished. It's over. I told you that a lot of people thought that they were going to turn something on in the playoffs, and it's just an old thing now. And I want to put up this tweet from Miles Brown because you have to understand, Stugotz, this thing burned hot for a decade. Best shooting backcourt we've ever seen. You've lived long enough to see them revolutionize the sport. They left it different than they found it. The game is played totally different because of how they mastered it and showed us, oh, wait, 3-on-1 break. Look, they've got two guys going to the corners. They don't want the two-point shot anymore. They want the three-point shot. But in the middle of that, a furnace. And here's what Miles Brown says about that furnace. They were 73-9, but this guy couldn't contain his nut-touching fetish. They got a top 3 small forward ever, and this guy ran him off. They got a top-tier 6 man, and this guy punched him in the face. He pods poorly with no respect for reality and is terrified of open jumpers. Free Steph Curry.
I don't want to hear it today. I mean, it's easy to take shots and poke holes at Draymond Green today. Draymond Green was a massive part of that team winning 4 NBA titles, and he helped recruit Kevin Durant. I don't want to hear it today.
Okay, but nothing he said there was untrue, and I thought you would buy in on as soon as the game is over.
Fetish is strong.
Free Steph Curry.
Who are we talking about? I don't know. Who is he referring to?
You think fetish? You think nut fetish is too strong?
Nut touching
Yeah.
fetish feels strong.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done it a ton of times with his feet and his
Competitive advantage via nuts is probably more like it.
Okay, you don't like the wording?
It's just weird.
He got ejected for a game in the final. He cost them a championship because he couldn't stop kicking people in the junk.
Sounds like you're kink shaming.
Of all people.
The NBA kink shamed him, not me. They suspended him, not me. I like when a whole team builds around a crazed furnace that makes Steph Curry cry.
These are solid points that he brings up. Yeah, he ran off Kevin Durant, but they also had a lot of success. And, I mean, lamenting the loss of Jordan Poole is a decision, I guess, but they won plenty.
Yes.
And he was
They
a big
won
reason.
4 titles.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen that clip of Klay Thompson explaining to Draymond on Draymond's podcast exactly why they need him out there. Even during this stretch where there was a dip in form, he was still hugely important to them. So I understand, like, dancing on the grave of the Golden State Warriors at this time, and particularly dancing on Draymond Green's grave, but it feels like a weird flex. Hugely successful. Immensely successful.
Their season was over the second they signed Chris Paul.
LeBron, they almost traded for him, which would have made
He didn't want to go there.
things interesting. I want to give me a stat of the day here. Give me the stat of the day music.
Start of the day, start of the day, it is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is the start of the day.
Warrior fans are mad today. They have gotten used to winning, and they spent the night, late into the night, arguing with a whispering Nick Wright on the internet. We'll get to that in a second. But the stat of the day, Stugotz, is that this year, okay, Klay Thompson went 5 for 5 on free throws in his last game to have more than 125 for the season and therefore qualify. Klay Thompson had the highest shooting percentage on the last day, passing teammate Steph Curry, okay? So Steph Curry shot for the season 92.3, and on the last day, Klay goes 5 for 5 to go over 125 and finish at 92.7. 2 years ago, Jordan Poole on the last day goes 4 for 4 on the last day to pass Steph Curry for the free throw percentage lead from 92.3 to 92.4. That is inside the weeds. I just can't believe that that's statistically so. That 2 straight seasons, not only has Steph Curry shot exactly 92.3% from the line, but both seasons his teammate has passed him on the last day in free throw percentage.
You think Steph cares? Do you?
I think about that. I think if you're that good at such a meticulous thing like that, I don't know that anyone else does. I didn't even know if I could engage the room because it's just math, and who cares? It's free throw percentage. Why are these balloons here?
I have no idea.
Is it Stu's birthday?
It's 1 year here at the Elser.
It's our birthday.
1 year here at the Elser,
Wow.
which I am eternally grateful for because you want to talk about an upgrade in terms of venue and just studio size. But I was kind of taken aback at how loud the volume, no pun intended, was at people really enjoying the Golden State Warriors losing. And then I kind of figured it out. They didn't really get to grave dance on the Golden State Warriors when Kevin Durant left, because if you remember how that finals ended with the Raptors beating them, Klay got injured, Kevin Durant got injured, and it was really unsatisfying because Golden State had all the excuses in the world to say you didn't actually knock out the champ. So we've had that in reserve. We haven't really had the chance to celebrate with good reason saying definitively you're not good enough to this Golden State team in quite a while.
What Mike is saying about the now of this, Stugotz, it is rare that you get the stage to yourself because LeBron won. LeBron won last night.
Yes.
So you can't turn – and even if LeBron had lost, he would have had another chance. Something ended last night. Steph would look like he was crying on the court. Draymond can't stop getting ejected. They've got a problem with – because this part is fascinating to me, Stugotz. I would think that winning would always be fun. I would think that being better than everyone else all the time would always be fun. And yet it's a pressure cooker that spits out Kevin Durant, that makes Draymond run so high that he's punching teammates in the face, seems totally out of control. And last night on the stage by itself, we get to say before the playoffs really start, goodbye to the Golden State Warriors as you know them. Immediately after the game, Steve Kerr is saying, we want Klay back, and other people will want Klay. He will be a great shooter for somebody. But that team was light years ahead. Their ownership said we're light years ahead. They built
that's nonsense, Dan. They're not light years
but
ahead. They
were.
had Steph Curry.
Stugotz, they had competitive advantages because of what they could do around the salary cap and because around the business. They were light years ahead. And the league caught up as they got old, and now it's over. It's done. Amin, our basketball expert, I was telling him all season, I'm like, this is finished, right? And he was, nope, I'm still scared of them. I'm scared of playoff experience. I respect too much how hard it is to win. You just mentioned, who did you mention? Did you mention Toronto? Kawhi Leonard won 1, solidified himself forever. It's really hard to do. Toronto has fallen apart since then. That Sacramento team in free fall at the end of the season. They did it once last year. Then the expectations came, free fall. That's what ended you. That everybody was fearing, what if they turn up that championship thing? No, They got crushed. Clay's
did.
0 for 10 in a game that they needed.
Well, Steph wasn't, he wasn't great. He needed to be great last night, especially with Clay being that off, and he was not great. And people are probably celebrating. Mike is right. The fact that this team appears to be finally finished. Steph Curry is not finished. This team, the core of this team, is done, and people are delighting in that.
It just felt like Steph had to wear all of the burden of Draymond, of Klay Thompson, of the entire team, and it was almost too much for him yesterday. In the first half, he was terrible.
Yeah.
Ellis was taking his cookies. Keegan Murray was stopping him everywhere he went. He got off a couple shots, but that was it.
I'm amazed that we all stayed up that late to watch it, first of all.
I was locked in.
Second of all, I'm confused what Nick Wright did. And third of all, were you a little sad you weren't invited to his wedding thing this weekend, Dan?
I'm just learning right now that he had a wedding thing this weekend.
Wow.
Mike also was not invited.
Yeah, I'm so
A
bummed
wedding
by that.
thing.
Renewed vows.
Really?
That's a little bit more intimate,
It was
though.
basically a wedding. And, Joy Taylor was there. Bomani was there.
You are
were
informing
not
me.
there.
I'm learning. You are correct.
Mike should have been there. I mean,
Jessica, put it on the side. I want to talk about this with you because you're just teaching me something
You're
right
doing
now.
the Trump meme. I'm just hearing this for the first time.
you're hurt?
Vow renewal?
Billy, do not
So
invite me to your vow
stupid.
renewal. I'm
How
not
many
ready.
years
Jesus.
is it?
Right.
Well, I mean, I don't know the story.
You
there.
buy a gift for that? No,
But
If you get a first wedding gift, that's it. No renewal. gift.
Billy,
I don't
we all
know.
know why you weren't invited, okay?
Well,
I don't know if they had a big wedding initially, and maybe this was an opportunity to
To
a few years
cash
gone
in.
by, let's renew our vows and actually have a wedding to the size and scope that we didn't have before.
I don't even understand the concept. We're just congratulating you on not getting divorced. Like
Who-
that's everyone that's not divorced.
They might have eloped. You don't know the deal.
Who in our crew you think's most likely to renew?
Dan.
Yeah, Dan for sure.
He just got married.
Yeah, Dan.
It's still Dan.
The invite's in the mail.
I think it's funny that we're critiquing somebody else's romantic vow renewal when we have a bunch of balloons in the studio celebrating our year in a building.
I don't think that's even right, if I'm going to be honest with you, because I got like one of those flashback things that I was already in the building like a week ago. So I think that we got the date wrong.
By the way, when I was walking in this morning, I saw on the sidewalk right in front of the Elser a pack of Newports inside a half-drinking like beer cup, like dip cup or something.
That was mine.
And I thought about the Clevelander for a second because I was like, man, we used to see this every single day.
I kind of look back the way I do. Like Marlins Park is nice, very fancy. But I look back at Pro Player and I kind of miss those days. You guys don't have any nostalgia for the Clevelander? Like a little like there's part of me, obviously this is so much nicer. But there's things I could just kind of miss that time.
Man, I don't miss it at all. I really don't. I want to meet you there.
It was so smelly.
Yeah,
everywhere.
there are aspects of being on ESPN I miss.
That's
That's
what
it.
Chris misses.
Yeah,
Yes.
but from the facility standpoint, no.
I miss it every time I see McAfee on TV.
Oh, boy.
Miss it when I got my seats for WrestleMania, I'll tell you that.
Just every airport, every television.
I'm there, and I'm on vacation at a bar, just getting a virgin pina colada. I look up, Pat's on every TV. I go, I used to be there.
Remember when
Not where he's sitting, where the guy with the half mullet thing is sitting.
Playoff P has been proven to work in the regular season for those who have struggled with moderate to severe postseason disappointment. It is not recommended as a first option. Do not take Playoff P while on Granger. Side effects include choking, heaving, not finishing, constipation, finishing early, and all-around disappointment. Playoff P is not for everyone. Call your doctor if you experience susceptibility to catfishing, kissy face, Australian sensitivity, paternity suits, the inexplicable urge to play for the Lakers, or thinking that dude's butt belongs to a lady. If you experience the loss of Oladipo, please call your doctor immediately. Get headed in a new direction with Playoff P.
The West is loaded, man.
Crazy.
So the Warriors are finished, and LeBron is a threat. I mean, you have to be threatened. He's roaming. I know Mike Greenberg is saying that they should have sat to avoid Denver. And I still don't think, right, boring or droning excellence though it was, I don't think that anyone should sleep on the idea that the Denver Nuggets are kind of championship overwhelming. And I would not want to play them if I were any team in the league, Boston Celtics included.
Do you agree with Greeny? So
No.
they should have lost that game?
No, it's ridiculous.
Dumbest take. That was like the dumbest take I've ever heard.
Well, let's play it out because they would have a one-game scenario right now with Sacramento, right? That would be it? I mean, they win that game.
You can't go into a game trying to lose. Mike said something earlier about the Bruins potentially doing that last night, throwing the game because they didn't want to, whatever, the matchups. It's like Paul Maurice spoke to this a couple weeks ago of the Panthers coach. You cannot, professional teams don't go into game. They might bench players that they want to start, but they're never going to just say, hey, our best players are out here. Try to lose today. That is just never going to happen. You might sit your stars and have the backups try.
Sure.
But there's never going to be a game with your stars out there that you're like, hey, at the very end, lose this game.
See what the Cavs did, final game, regular season? I mean, Tristan Thompson was playing point guard.
Well, there you go. That's at least they weren't playing their guys. They're not trying to lose. They're just playing a bad lineup. It was so stupid what Greeny said.
16 shots on goal against Washington Capitals and like 12 throughout 2 periods. They just started trying midway through the 3rd period. It was weird.
So they tried to lose the first half of the game.
I'd be more concerned about Boston, yeah.
You don't think any team has ever seen what comes ahead for them, and if they lose, it's better, and tried to lose?
No, I think that they may bench their starters if they want to, lose a game. But they're not going to tell you go out there and lose.
I just think that there's something subconscious that happens to the effort that is hard to quantify.
I'm not arguing that. It's just the idea of go out and lose is a ridiculous premise.
I don't think anyone says go out and lose this game unless they're tanking for a draft pick.
No one says it.
Yeah,
it's understood.
But there
It's
are
understood,
certain things,
right.
and it starts from the top down. At the executive level, if they just kind of want you to lose,
it's a phone call.
The effort usually meets that.
I mean,
Mark Cuban got fined for saying it's better if we lose. He got fined a substantial amount of money. I think like $500,000 or $1 million for saying it benefits us to lose. And they realized how bad it looked that was, so they gave him a giant fine. They were not trying to win.
Chris, since I guess, and you're pretty rational by comparison, but in terms of Heat fans, you're the most irrational of us right now. What's the pivot?
Oh, irrational!
What's because you're complaining about someone not being in the playoffs?
Did you not hear your voice there?
Yeah. My boy,
your voice. If I were making a cartoon thing that was meant to symbolize irrational, that's the voice I would give.
Entire premise.
So the premise of them playing in the play-in tonight, if they lose that game, it doesn't stick to Jimmy. If they lose the game tonight,
I don't like your premise.
What's the spin going to be if they lose to the Philadelphia 76ers?
I'm not.
Bam needs to get better.
I don't like being painted as this Heat defender. I'm just saying the playoff the playoff Jimmy thing. That commercial. That's the Jimmy thing.
I agree. I would have a gripe.
What are you saying?
It's a ridiculous
He's
commercial.
just saying.
I'm saying it's a ridiculous
allowed to
commercial
say
without
it.
Jimmy.
It is.
What do you mean? We had the whole
Why'd they have
conversation.
such a ridiculous season? That wasn't a playoff season.
That's a great
He
question.
said find a new slogan to promo the playoffs if you're not going to use Jimmy
Punt
Butler.
on that commercial if Jimmy's not in it. It's the whole thing.
I gave you.
It's wild.
I gave you the new
the premise
commercial.
of it.
Why even give out the Larry O'Brien trophy if it's not going to be to the Heat?
I thought I was a narcissist.
This is insane.
Well, I'll tell you what's insane.
It
There are a number of things here that are insane. But if you've listened to this show for 15 years, to see the permutation of Heat Twitter guy go from Mike Ryan, all right, I'll allow Cortez. I'll allow Parakeet Cortez as a representative for our culture to be obnoxious and in character
And I'm the
time.
narcissist.
I'll allow him to
He only exists because I allow it.
to lead
made him.
Twitter, but then to have it become Jeremy, who's more annoying than any of them and less charming and going for bad jokes all the time. I understand how Mike says this is not a proper representation that honors the obnoxious I tried to make of Heat Twitter.
No, he's embarrassing to me. He's embarrassing to me. It's I don't want to just blame millennials, but I feel like I have to.
Wow.
I'd like to dig in a little deeper here because Jeremy has been aggressively cocky lately about being not funny on purpose, and it's destructive.
Really
he
sinking into
he
it.
thinks he's that charming. And he's
Will
not-
Seeloff, though, deserved the better fate, I thought. I mean, it was good. It was clever. It was cute.
I'm saying he's making aggressively bad jokes all of the time.
This generation of Heat fans are an embarrassment to the people that brought him to the dance. I'm talking about the This Is Chuckers of the world. We were putting a horse on Photoshops before you even knew Photoshop was a thing. You know, that was what we were doing.
You were born in this
But
fire.
someone said something bad, boom, horse penis on the head. Move on.
That's how you do it.
Tony, you're reacting as if because I think Mike would allow you. You haven't
Oh,
summoned.
you picked the Pacers? Here's some buttholes for eyes. That's what we did.
That was classic.
I would just respond, Heat in 5.
They made glasses for that. damn
even if it was
butthole
game
glasses.
six.
You want to keep talking? Guess what? Entire face, butthole.
Buscemi eyes.
You were saying, Dan?
Who said that?
that there's a lane for you here, Tony, if you want to be, because I think Twitter is usually pretty ethnic. I think, and it's loud. If you want to represent Miami like that crypto billionaire, there is something to being a charming kind of obnoxious, a clever, a self-aware kind of obnoxious.
They're all filled with Jeremys right now. Before, if someone gave the middle finger to Joakim Noah, there was probably a murder in their past that was suspicious. And guess what? That was a thing that
True
actually
story.
happened.
That's a thing. That's a playoff thing right there. Yes. A woman gave Joakim Noah the finger. She became instantly famous, and then we checked her past, and there was a suspicious murder.
Now the people giving the middle fingers are from Beta Club.
Ugh, please, dorks.
I hate betas.
So, Dan, I feel like you're on the same page with me here. You want to get the dorks out of Heat Twitter, and I'm always for getting dorks the hell out of
I
there.
don't think Jeremy's a dork. But
come on.
He's a dork.
He's such a
What are you
dork.
talking
You
about?
guys
Just
are
said he's
being
not
so
charming.
mean. I'm
So
torn,
mean.
though, because he is really annoying about the Heat. So
And tonight, the Miami Heat play a game, Stugotz. You know we don't do very many previews around here, but we're going to be involved. We're going to be doing some stuff with All the Smoke during the playoffs where we'll pop up at night and we'll do some playoff coverage on things. Tonight would have been a good night for us to enjoy together because while you got to get in to get off, this is a big night.
Right.
The play-in has been a success across.
Unless the Heat lose. And then the big night's no, that wasn't really a big night.
Is the next night.
We're saving our bodies for we wanted Boston the whole time.
I would like to see both.
That's the pivot.
I would like to see both those series, but I'm rooting right now, Stugotz, and this puts me in Homer classification because I don't think. And this isn't even a knock on Miami. Like I said, they're a good road team. They're 24-17 on the road. They have no reason to be afraid of the road. OKC, that's their record on the road. Denver, that's their record on the road. The very best teams.
Right.
Miami can win this basketball game, but Philadelphia has the best player on the court. Philadelphia has been not Miami, even though it had the first-round picks to be Miami and a process to be Miami. Over the last 5 years, Philadelphia has always fallen at the feet of Miami and Boston, has no answers. They've got an MVP candidate, and he does not advance beyond these teams.
Right.
Jimmy Butler played for Philadelphia. Philadelphia might have won a championship already if they hadn't chosen Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler.
Mm-hmm. Tony's got a take here. Tony's got a take on tonight.
I'm worried. Dan, you said they have the best player in Joel Embiid, and it feels like, if all things considered, some people don't play up to the caliber of what they're playing. Yeah. Okay?
A lot of qualifiers here.
Yep.
Looks like Maxey could be the second best player on the court.
What if Maxey doesn't play well? I mean, this is a weird thing.
Nah,
It's
then
like
you got
if
me
Jimmy
there.
doesn't play well, Maxey could be the second best.
He had a lot of qualifiers. He hedged his bets there a little bit. But if you're going off of this season, there's no question who the two best players on the court are. It's Embiid and Maxey. But we all know what's going around Jimmy is this reserving the body for playoff Jimmy.
I want to see the 5 foot in the air jumpers.
That's what I want to see.
Who would you rather have tonight? Would you rather have Jimmy Butler or Joel Embiid?
Joel Embiid.
Wow.
Really? I'd take Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let me just.
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
Playoff Jimmy.
Okay.
Just back in the
Playoff
day, it was so
Embiid, though?
refreshing. If Tony were to give that take in front of a microphone, guaranteed he would have buttholes for eyes within 5 seconds. Yeah.
The part that I will disagree with you on, and I know that you want to make fun of me in general for a take from the middle of the Lillard sweepstakes, where I said that Tyler Hero, he was as good as Tyrese Maxey. the second best player on the court tonight, depending on how things go with all the qualifiers, because I don't know why it is that we always ignore the defensive side of the ball when doing this, is Bam Adebayo, who's on the Olympic team and is an all-world defensive player. And if the Miami Heat are to win this basketball game, it will be because they play excellent defense, as they do in the playoffs, as they always do for Spoelstra. And the key to all of that, including being able to guard Maxey in key situations because he's 6'9", and he's able to do things on the perimeter that no other defender can do with a coach that can do things with him that cannot be done with any other defender. Maxey is not better than Bam Adebayo. I don't know why you guys always ignore defense, especially this time of year.
Well, because what kind of Bam are we going to get? Are we going to get Idris or are we going to get Bam? There's a lot of questions, Dan. There's a reason why there's a lot of caveats, because there's a lot of questions.
A big game.
Big game.
Unless the Heat lose, then
Not a big game.
Look, if they win, you keep with this playoff Jimmy mantra and you talk yourself into ridiculous things because we saw them do something fairly ridiculous. But if they lose, please, just the core. Toss it out.
There
I'm
we go
done.
again. He's been doing that for 2 years.
They have a home
Done
game in
talking
2
about
nights.
is Bam going to find the guts. I'm done talking about it. I'm done trying to wait around and see if I can trust Duncan Robinson. I'm done trying to figure out if Tyler Hero is going to be healthy or not for a stretch. I'm done having these conversations
I'm putting
with this
buttholes
team.
on you, Mike. Buttholes on
Whoa.
you.
Buttholes on you.
Buttholes on you. And
It's
a
a
horse.
big game tonight.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, Jesus. That escalated quickly.
Entire premise.
Gotta get in to get off.
We have missed Mike Schur around here. He's very busy making good content, as he always is.
Unlike us.
That is correct. But we did make some good content last segment. When this actually happened in real time, Chris Cody reached an octave we did not think that could be reached by Chris Cody while defending himself against a case of being irrational.
Oh, irrational.
Did you not hear your voice
tough
there?
day for my boy, dude.
Your voice. That is how Chris Cody, and that is how I would imagine Irrational would sound if I was creating a show for kids with a cartoon meant to symbolize irrational.
Oh, irrational.
Yes. That's the kind of content we make around here. Mike, thank you for joining us. Were you heartbroken last night? Or were you winded?
Heartbroken?
No, my bad.
About the Bruins?
Yeah.
Were you scared last night as you were watching Sacramento, your team, your adopted team, before that game? You did not have confidence that they were going to win that game against Golden State.
Light the beam, Dano. No Malik Monk, no Kevin Huerter, no problem as the Sacramento Kings dispatched the Golden State Warriors 118-94 last night at Golden One Center. Keegan Murray led the Kings with 32 points, including a sparkling 8 of 13 from 3. De'Aaron Fox chipped in 24. Spot starter Keon Ellis provided a key offensive spark, going for 15 in 39 tough minutes, as the Kings, at least for one night, seemed to have rediscovered the high-octane offense that made them and Coach Mike Brown such a tough out last year. But the real story last night, Dan, might have been the seeming end of the Warriors dynasty. Steph Curry had 22 points. Klay Thompson was held to 0. That's right, Dan, one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. 0 of 10 from the floor. 0 of 6 from 3 in 32 minutes. Did not register a point as the Warriors crashed out of the play-in tournament. Thompson, of course, is a free agent at the end of the year. Question marks do remain about his future with the team. Speaking to reporters after the game, Curry said about Thompson and Draymond Green, and I quote, "I can never see myself not with those two guys." His confusing use of a double negative notwithstanding, the end of the Splash Brothers dynasty could be upon us. Time will tell. But what matters now, Dan, is that the Kings live to play at the Pelicans for a chance at the 8th seed in the West. That game is on Thursday night at Smoothie King Center in New Orleans. For Meadowlark Media, this is Mike Schur reporting live from Los Angeles. Dan?
I felt like that was artificial intelligence.
What's the bid here, funny guy? Like, what are we doing?
weird.
I just
Yeah.
reading?
I felt
ESPN recap. I mean,
He's our king stringer.
I'm your Sacramento Kings correspondent. I'm filing a report on the game.
right, but it was a little dry. We want, we
NPR.
we need takes. We need you did it.
Would you rather my voice crack and I do something ridiculous like Chris Cody? Is
Yes.
is that what
Literally
this is
what
about?
we wanted.
Entertainment?
Oh, irrational.
Yes, that just throwing a little of that in there. We don't need.
I'm trying to bring some professionalism to this outfit. You hired me as a Sacramento Kings correspondent. They played a big game last night. I was filing my report. I'm sorry. I won't do it anymore. I won't provide information for the listeners of this show if that's what you want.
Here's a little key if you're going to do a report on the Sacramento Kings. At the end, you have to say Meadowlark
Krings.
Media. It's a long pause. That's what all the pros do. ES PN.
Krings.
All right. Thanks for the notes.
But go
Thanks for the
Cranes.
notes on my reporting.
Mike, do you agree that the NBA shouldn't be promoting the playoffs until playoff Jimmy is in?
Sure. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
I
That was
said
a
promoting it differently. I didn't say not promote it. I said use a different slogan.
wait, you took this is your actual stance?
No, my
You don't think
stance is
that-
everyone is just being crazy here and not respecting me. All I'm saying is the playoff.
We're
blank.
crazy for saying someone that's not in the playoffs
No.
shouldn't be featured in the
sa-
playoff
Did you
promo.
see the playoff blank commercial with Tatum?
I did.
I'm saying that premise is based off playoff blank. That's playoff Jimmy. How do you have that commercial with that premise? Obviously, you can promote the NBA playoffs. How do you have that slogan used if Jimmy's not in it?
They clearly asked him and he said no or something. Like
Or
they
he
wouldn't
was-
have done it without asking him.
It didn't have any play-in people in it. I'm assuming he was in it, and since he's in the play-in, we're like, we can't have him in it because he's not in the playoffs.
There, you're right.
So you're
there,
saying
you
they
got it.
shouldn't have run that specific ad unless he was a part of the actual playoffs.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Thank you for just hearing what I'm saying and not just.
He's saying that the goal for them to run this playoff promo.
How
without
dare
Jimmy
they continue
Butler.
their playoffs without Jimmy?
Mike Schur.
I mean, I kind of see your point, but also he's like that commercial featured like a lot of guys who were bigger stars than he is in the league. So I don't know how you can.
How many of those guys made it to the finals last year?
Shane Gillis-Alexander is not a bigger star than Jimmy Butler.
Gillis.
Always funny when he says that.
It's not fair. Mike Schur has been trying to tell you about Shea Gilgeous-Alexander for a year and a half. A whole lot of people are about to discover him. But let's just go back to last night. Mike Schur, break this down for me. This analysis from Reggie Miller at a pretty important time for the game, as a lot of people were listening for his astute breakdown of what to do in this late game pressurized situation. One of the great clutch players of all time.
There's things that you talk about on the bus as players. If he makes the first one,
Yeah.
you're up 3. Do you try to purposely miss the second one, knowing that they don't have any timeouts?
No timeouts.
And they've got to go coast to coast, because as soon as you miss it, time is going to start as soon as it's touched. Or do you just make them both be up 4 and game over? These are things that are discussed as teams.
Yeah, that was an insane moment. That was truly nuts. There are certainly moments where missing a free throw isn't the worst thing in the world for that reason. That's not one of those moments. Like, I think his brain just fritzed out because it's like if you hit the free throw, the game ends no matter what.
I think he started off meaning to say if you miss the first free throw, then do you miss the second? That's what I thought.
But he
that
was
maybe
going on
the mistake
and on
was.
and on about it, Dan. That's bad production
But
right
this
there.
is why
Someone
you-
needs to get in his ear and tell him, Reggie, you're wrong
Well, I
about
think
this.
they did at the end, and he
stated
realized
drenched.
that. No,
So you think live on air, good producing would be, hey, you're wrong about this
Yes.
as he's talking.
But that's why you have
Yes.
one of
That's
the,
what
Reggie,
we
you
do
sound like
here
a
every
moron.
day.
Yes.
That's why you have one of the game's greatest players in the booth, though, because he explains like these are things that they talk about on the bus. You don't know what it's like playing between
No one
those
talks
lines.
about that on the bus. I mean, no one does. No
How
one.
is he
It
being
was bizarre.
irrational?
It was bizarre, and I think you're right. I think that he was confusing the situation and thinking, if you miss it, do you then miss the second one or something? But how he didn't correct himself or Harlan didn't correct him, something should have happened there.
My
'cause
favorite
They have
it
no
ended up
timeouts.
The part at the end where he's like, or do you make it in game over?
in game.
I thought that's where
That's
the
the answer.
producer
I
arrived.
don't think they should end the game
I
here.
thought the producer told him something right toward the end. Reggie, just tell them you could just make the 2 free throws and end the game.
When you lay it out like that for me, Reg.
Yes. Amin has given the breakdown this way of the Miami Heat on Oddball, and I want to get Mike Schur's opinion on all of this because there was no one in the American media more right about what was going to happen in the Eastern Conference last year than Mike Schur. He got it the most right on how all of last season in the Eastern Conference was going to end. He seems cockier this year. He seems less scared this year. And here's Amin Al-Hassan, I guess, saying why he should still be scared.
If anyone should be feeling really good about themselves, it should be the Miami Heat. And particularly because many of the opponents they'll see are not unfamiliar opponents, right? If they play the Sixers and they beat the Sixers, they get the 7th seed. That means they played the Knicks in the first round. They played them last year. If they lose to the Sixers, but obviously beat the whatever carcass comes out of Bulls Hawks, right? Then they play the Celtics, who they've not only played last year, they played 3 of the last 4 years. So it's like, okay. And then as you progress through it, it's like all of these are familiar foes. Ain't nobody here new or like, we've never seen anything like it before. So if you're the Miami Heat, I think confidence should be there. Having said that, hey, maybe we do this without, a whole lot of drama. Because it's like people say, like, yeah, the elevator broke down, and so I had to take the stairs 30 flights up. Like, that's great. But no one should say, from now on, I'm only taking the stairs. That doesn't make any sense.
Right. The Heat are like, you know what? That was fun last year. Let's do it that way again.
Where are you on this, Schur?
Well, I mean, yeah, nobody's a new opponent in the East. Yes, they have. There's no expansion teams that made the playoffs. Like, what are you talking about? Every team knows every team in the East. They've all played each other fairly recently. They play each other 4 times a year. And also, the thing that I think is a more salient point about the Heat this year, they're not quite the same team. Now, don't get me wrong. I am terrified of them. I will always be terrified of them as long as Jimmy plays for that team. But the reason that I made the prediction I made last year was because I watched the team game after game after game, and they were winning games that they had no business winning. And they were winning those games with going 40 for 40 from the line or getting 18 steals and only having 4 turnovers. They're not quite that team this year. At least they haven't been in the regular season. They weren't as good defensively, in my mind, in terms of turnovers. They weren't quite as good in those like super close games late in the game. They get the key bucket they need to get. They win by 1. Last year, they were winning by 1 or 2 or 3 points over and over and over again. They weren't quite that same team this year. So it's not that I don't fear them, because I absolutely do, but they didn't have this like weird pixie dust sprinkled over them for the entire regular season like they did last year. And I think they're in a little bit of trouble only because they almost crashed out of the play-in last year. This year, they got to go on the road and play Philly. Embiid's going to play, and they have not. The Sixers have been great when Embiid plays this year. I think the Sixers ought to win that game. They'll probably beat the Bulls or the Hawks, but I don't think the Celtics, with their new roster, fear the Heat in the way that they might have feared the Heat last year. That doesn't mean it's not going 6 or 7. It's not going to be sphincter tightening in the way that it has been in the last 3 years, but it's not quite the same level of fear that I have.
It is a funny thing,
year.
though, to say, given that Drew Holiday is one of those new players, and last time he played Jimmy in the playoffs, we all thought he was going to quit because he talked about quitting because of what Jimmy was doing to Drew Holiday in the playoffs. Like, he publicly
Playoff Jimmy.
he publicly talked about, I'm not sure I want to be doing this anymore because of how Jimmy dragged me. It was uncommon honesty, and that's at the center of everything they're doing with the Celtics. Let's play the stat of the day music so that we can get from Mike Schur a refreshed stat of the day.
Start of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day, it is your start of the day.
This stat of the day comes courtesy of Sarah Langs, the greatest living baseball statistician in my mind. Since Barry Bonds left the San Francisco Giants, the Giants have started 18 different opening day left fielders in 18 seasons. The list is wonderful. Are you ready? Here we go.
Oh, my God.
Starting in 2007, Barry Bonds, Dave Roberts, Fred Lewis, Mark DeRosa, Pat Burrell,
Bat the bat.
Aubrey Huff, Andres Torres, Mike Morse, Nori Aoki, Angel Pagan, Jarrett Parker, Hunter Pence, Connor Joe, Alex Dickerson, Austin Slater, Jock Peterson, Blake Sable, and this year, Michael Conforto.
And they had like 3 world championships in the middle of all.
More than that, I
Conforto's
think.
a Giant?
More than that, I believe. And then all they did was win the championship again and again that they never did when Bonds was there. Thank you, Schur. Good seeing you again.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, Dan. I don't know why I did the hip pump. I'm in such a good mood because we are here in New York. We're at the Empire State Building right now. We're here for the WNBA draft. Everything is freaking awesome. And I just think it would be such a cool bit if you let me move here. Look how happy I look. I got to hang out with a friend. 2 friends this whole week. That's crazy. So just think about it. And I'm not even counting Caitlin as one of those friends. She didn't say hello to me with her voice, but she did with her eyes. So, please. Rose, what's happening?
They're taking photos.
Would love to be a part of that one day. You know, it would be so crazy and so cool if you let me move here. Start spreading the news. Oh, hang out with Pablo. He would love to hang out with me. I'm leaving today. Charlotte's got to be pretty lonely up here. New York, New York. The Iowa women's basketball team is here. Loudest cheers of the night. So as women's basketball fans, how cool is it to see a crowd like this here for a WNBA event?
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah.
We love to see it.
They're amazing athletes, so it was about damn time.
Is this your first WNBA draft, or
Yes.
why this draft?
I mean, Caitlin Clark, obviously. We're from Iowa.
I mean, of course, we're Hawkeyes. Who has been the player you were most excited to see so far?
I love Rikia.
Caitlin and Paige. I mean Caitlin, but then I saw Paige and like collapsed. So
They all look so good.
Like, I have to say Caitlin. I love her as a person. I love her as a basketball player. I feel like she just like understands the game. This is so embarrassing.
Oh my God, girl. I have said this so many times before. I would die for her. I said I wasn't going to ask any uncomfortable questions, but I have to do this now. Do you love Caitlin Clark or your girlfriend more?
Oh, good question. My girlfriend, of course.
No.
My girlfriend.
No, because I would be scared if I was in a room.
Caitlin Clark.
Draft Kate Morey. There goes my hero. Watch her as she goes. Dan, I feel alive again. I think I'm back. It was a really tough 8 days, but I'm feeling really good now. Kate and Caitlin got drafted. I'm feeling awesome. Everybody looked beautiful. You're probably like, Lucy, did you work too hard? Is that why you're sitting down? Not necessarily. I would say Rose did most of the heavy lifting on this trip. I have been rewatching Sex and the City. Every time I rewatch Sex and the City, I'm like, I have got to start wearing like heels and stuff. So I wore heels and my feet hurt so bad. So I'm doing the full New York experience. I had a blast. Thank you for sending me here. And I cannot wait to go to every Indiana Fever game on your dime. Let me ignore all my friends' problems. Worry about my own. Charlotte, give me money. No. Carrie.
I fear she's ripping us off. She goes to New York to tell us to send her to New York so that she could just get close to Caitlin Clark, wherever Caitlin Clark is, and just have the camera whiff Caitlin Clark.
Some good access we got to Caitlin.
Just every time that she walked in front of a camera, we were there. A brisk walk in front of a line of cameras, Metalork was there.
I feel like we just sent Lucy to the WNBA draft to enjoy a party and to sort of be in the general scent of Caitlin Clark and ask people about Caitlin Clark.
That's exactly what you did.
She said hello with her eyes.
True.
Yep.
She mentioned Sex and the City, which is now on Netflix, which is why a lot of people are now watching it for the first time. And I have a Franco Harris admission to make, which is that growing up, I was very confused that there was a Carrie Bradshaw and a Terry Bradshaw.
That's a great admission.
Wow.
That's a great admission. So
You fool.
You thought that the head of Sex and the City, a time of empowerment for sexuality on HBO, that the star of that show was Terry Bradshaw, the former Steelers quarterback who shared a backfield with Frank O'Harris.
Or that the Steelers had a woman quarterback.
I wasn't really sure when I was very young who Carrie Bradshaw was.
Should you have been?
Yeah. I mean, it was
Not really.
That,
No,
Not very young. No, you
for a
shouldn't
show
have
called
been.
Sex and the City, Not a lot of sex. Samantha was really the only sexually liberated one. And even now, by our standards today, I mean, that's the interesting conversation happening with the show, Dan, is now younger people watching it and being like, wow, is this what the 2000s were like?
Risque.
Yes, they were. This was shocking. I was more so just like, are they related? Is one of them the other one's wife or daughter? Am I getting the names wrong? Why do they rhyme? Did they name the character after Terry Bradshaw? Turns out none of those things are true. It just was a coincidence, I guess.
I'm glad Lucy went to New York so we could have this conversation. I mean,
I would recommend
important one.
a couple of things that I've found recently on Netflix that aren't Sex and the City. I've been very disappointed with the reincarnation of Sex and the City, from the movie to all of its forms, whatever it is that Max is doing
And just
with
like
it.
that.
Yes, I didn't. I hate watched the entirety of that. But Baby Reindeer, I would recommend to you if you want to crawl around in your own skin and feel very uncomfortable around stalking. It is excellently done, and I would also recommend.
I felt that watching Lucy's video.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Agreed.
You criticize the video, but it's caused two different conversations based on Netflix shows.
I've watched Baby Reindeer, and it is fantastic. It is creepy.
I'm surprised that you have watched that.
I watched 2 episodes. I mean,
Okay.
Did you think it was Reindeer Games?
I did.
Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman is also very good.
It's really good, but like we saw the movie already. So now the movie's like just like the show, but longer. And I'm like,
Not for you?
No, it's for me. Like I like it. I've watched the entire thing, but like we saw the movie.
You guys are binging the wrong thing.
What do you mean?
2 new episodes of Bluey dropped.
Yeah.
Mean.
Of what?
Bluey.
I'm not in that demo.
I didn't like it. The long one. I only watched the long one. I didn't
Bluey?
I didn't see the new one. I didn't see the second one. I saw the longer
second
one.
Yeah, the
I
28
don't want to spoil it for people.
The 28-minute one?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I was an emotional wreck watching this. For those that don't have kids.
Is it ending?
It's kind of like a cliffhanger ending. Yeah, I don't.
Wait until 10 years from now, you find out they had it in a pitch for Damian Lillard. Bluey tried to get Dame to the Heat, and he turned them down.
I don't want to spoil it for people, but I didn't like the little twist at the end.
Dude, when Bandit shows up, he pulls up, and he takes the for sale sign out of the ground. When the entire episode, Bingo and Bluey are trying to sabotage the house being sold. I gotta tell you, it hit me. It hit me.
I didn't like the lesson. Like, sometimes life changes. Like, I think the lesson there couldn't be, hey, we got to move to a new place and it's all going to be okay.
No.
The lesson at the end of just, oh, you don't want to move? All right, we're gonna stay then?
The lesson is, we know how much we mean to you, and this would be a huge change if we went away, viewer. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be there for you. As your child grows up and watches all sorts of terrible children's TV programming, we're going to be that oasis in the desert. We're going to have the best example of a father since the 1960s, honestly, on television. Just a model father.
Since who?
You got to go to black and white TV.
Really?
Yeah. Sitcom dads, you're talking about model fathers. Father knows best.
Bandit is an icon. He is dad goals.
Phil Dunphy's pretty strong.
I feel like the sitcom dad lately has been stereotyped to be like the dumbass. Like that
is Phil Dunphy.
That's Modern Family. I thought my father was the
dads.
death of the sitcom dad. I thought that's where it all went to die.
You know, like Bluey's parents occasionally allude to wilder times when they were single. And it's, you know, they don't treat the parents like they're idiots. And I didn't know there were a couple of. There's a show that deals with low-key miscarriages where they don't come out and say it, but you know there are shows that have these really deeper messages, and you find yourself getting emotionally invested, and then when they threaten to move it away, you're like, no, I'm not ready for this to go, Bluey. I'm not ready for you to go, and then that dad rips that for sale sign out of the ground.
Strong dog.
And you realize that they're not going to go anywhere. I don't have to do this by myself. Yeah, I'm getting a little choked up just talking about it right now.
So Bluey's a dog, but he's not Blue's Clues?
Bluey's a girl.
Huh.
But a dog.
Terry Bradshaw all over again.
Blue from Blue's Clues also a girl.
That one was stunning. That was stunning to find out.
Stugotz also...
Because historically, Blue is associated with boys.
We get it.
Progressive.
Also stunning to find out, Stugotz. I can't believe what I'm about to report. Are you ready to get an explosive report that perhaps you may have missed?
Yes.
I know what it is.
Take a guess.
Hannah Cavender's coming back to UM women's basketball.
Nope, that is not it.
Oh.
It is something more in the Stugotz wheelhouse, but it also is in the rare place where I also believe that Stugotz has said dismissively, I'm tired of those. I don't want any more in my life. There will be no more of those. And what I'm about to say is a Don Van Natta, Seth Wickersham Patriots report.
Get out of here. A deep dive?
A deep dive into Belichick.
How is that possible?
A deep dive into Belichick.
I thought he did his final deep dive.
You thought so, but there are a couple of things here that I want to share with you and the audience. This is from Andrew Callahan of one of the Boston newspapers. He is quoting ESPN as saying this. It's where I'm getting my information. It's how I'm finding out that it's Wickersham and Don Van Natta. He told confidants he would be confidants.
Sounds like it's Callahan.
He would be. It's not Callahan.
Okay.
It's Van Natta and Seth Wickersham, and it's Callahan borrowing their reporting.
Callahan, a great Boston name.
It is a great. Anytime it's a Callahan in Boston giving you Belichick information, it's credible.
Didn't he break the news that they decided when they were overseas to get rid of him?
Was it Andrew Callahan
I think
who did
it
that?
was.
Well, he's now just
Classic
quoting
Callahan.
ESPN. This is classic Callahan reporting on what Seth Wickersham and Don Van Natta are reporting, which is he's told confidants he'd be interested in coaching the Cowboys, the Eagles, or the Giants. He was blindsided
Who
by
does he
it.
think he is? Deion Sanders?
He'll get one of those jobs.
He was blindsided by Atlanta's hiring of Raheem Morris. He was not among the top 3 choices for any of the Falcons' top decision makers during their coaching search. He is about to sign a media deal with Peyton Manning's Omaha Productions.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's also happening around this is some people are saying that, and I need to know what the reporting is on this, whether it's Wickersham or not, that Robert Kraft reportedly called Arthur Blank to warn him not to trust Bill Belichick as a potential head coach for the Falcons. I need to know what the reporting is on that. Who's reporting that? Because you're suggesting that Kraft is actively getting in the way of Belichick getting a job.
Is it not Seth Wickersham that's reporting it?
I think it's Don Van Natta.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I
one of
don't
those
know.
two guys.
They've got a
Crack
third
the
one.
case.
They've got a third one on it, though. There's a third name
Wait,
attaching them.
why would they
They've
attach
never
their
taken
name
a
and
third-
credibility to the story?
And they've never taken a third person on a deep dive. I
Fowler's
mean,
the third one.
Right.
Not Chris. Jeremy.
Dan, put it on the
Jeremy.
poll. More
Right.
prolific reporting duo, Van Natta and Wickersham, or Woodward and Bernstein.
Did you know that Jeremy
With that.
Fowler and Chris Fowler were not related?
Really?
What?
Neither were Carrie and Terry.
Bernstein.
That's a fun.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.